Hello, my name's Jade, and today I'm going to be going through the books that I have read for university thus far. If you did not know, I am studying a degree in English literature and creative writing. I read a selection of books for school, funnily enough, since, I'm studying a degree in English literature. These are the books that I read in my first semester. I'm currently in my second semester, so I'm reading new books now. So there were two different modules that I had reading for. One of them has quite a bit more reading than the other. First one is Intro to English, which is an introduction to English. And I only had to buy 4 books for this class. Now there were lots of different extracts and poems and bits and bobs along the way as well that we had to read. I'm going to go in order in what I read them, not necessarily the order that I've learnt them in. First one was George Eliot's Silas Marner. I'm pretty sure I audiobooked this one to help me kind of get through it a bit. When I tried sitting down and just like straight up reading it, it wasn't really sticking and clicking. So I audiobooked it and I had a lot more fun with it that way. I think if I hadn't audiobooked it, I would have liked it even less than what I did. It wasn't my favourite thing ever, but it was cute. It was cute. It kind of warmed my heart towards the end. Very much centred on village life and this weaver's life. It wasn't a horrible experience. I didn't mind it half as much as some of the other books I've had to read for school in the past that I didn't really like. As far as like a school book rating goes, I'd give it like a 8 out of 10. It was fine and dandy. As far as how much I actually like this book, I'd give it like a 7-ish. It was okay. But again, if I didn't read the audiobook, I don't think I'd have liked it half as much as what I did. The next one is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This one was quite fun. It's like a gothic-y kind of ghost story type read, so I really liked that aspect. It was pretty short. These were both somewhat short. This one especially. I also audiobooked this one. I audiobooked it within a day. I loved the audiobook that I listened to for this. I tend to listen to the Librivox recordings because they're free, they're public domain, you can find them anywhere. They had their own YouTube channel where they post them all. It was only like 4 hours long or something, and I just had to find out what happened and what was going on, and I really enjoyed the audiobook. If I hadn't listened to the audiobook, I don't think again I would have enjoyed it as much. I think the writing's just so dense that it would have taken me so long to get through it, which is why I audiobooked it. In terms of like school books, I would give it like a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed that audiobook. Norse books, again, I'd still think I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this one, and it definitely had like an interesting premise, and there's a lot of psychology in it. You didn't always really know what was happening and whether to believe the protagonist or not, and I really like that. The other book that I read for my Intro to English module was Macbeth by William Shakespeare. I actually didn't read this copy though. I read a No Fear Shakespeare copy. I really enjoyed Macbeth. Again, I think I enjoyed it so much because I had that modern translation. If I just had to kind of depict it for myself, I don't think I would have enjoyed it. I thought it was super creepy, and I really loved the kind of macabre, like, I don't want to say gory, but it kind of had that feeling to it. I just loved the tone and the atmosphere. It was so creepy and cool. One night I just couldn't sleep, and so I just stayed up all night and just read Macbeth. As far as school books go, again, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10, maybe even 10 out of 10. It was fun. If I didn't have that translation, it'd be lower, but I did, so we're not getting into that. As far as regular books go, I'd say like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10, roughly. Yeah, it was good. It was fun. I liked it. They also told me to buy this William Blake poetry book, which has like selected works of William Blake, and we did like 2 poems out of this. So it was kind of a big waste of money, I'm not gonna lie. Didn't really read a lot of it. I'm not gonna count it for this list, but I bought it, so I'm showing it to you. That is all the books that I read for my Intro to English module. The other module that I took, this was an optional one. My university allows us to have optional modules. We can choose what we learn, which I love. I got to do a myth and folktale module, and I loved it so much. It was so much fun. I love myths. I love them so much. I remember I loved doing like the Egyptians and the Romans and the Greeks. The Greeks always been my favourite. I've loved them since learning about them in primary school, since I was like, what, 7, 8, 9 maybe? So the first one that I had to read was Ovid's Metamorphoses. This, now, the first things first, this is Roman. I know the gods somewhat well, okay? I like the gods, we've been through this. But I know their Greek names. I always hated the Roman names. They would never stick in my mind. Like, I know Neptune, Jove, June, Are they the same person? There was Job and there was June. I don't know if they were the same because one of them kind of had two names. One of them was Hera and one of them was Zeus, and I can't remember which is which now. Kind of like a really long poem. It was very complicated, and they had like stories within stories, and the narrative point switches, so you'll have one person talking to another person, and then you'll just be with them and following them for a little while, and then you'll just follow someone else, and you're kind of hopping around, just hearing all these different stories about different gods and different things that have happened. The first half I liked. I really enjoyed the first half, but then the second half hit, and that's when I started I think my mind just kind of started zoning out, and it was done with this language, and that's when I had to really start looking up summaries to understand what was actually happening. I didn't love this one because of that. In terms of a school book, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. In terms of like an actual book, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. The next one was the Odyssey by Homer, one of the book writes. This is an epic poem following Odysseus's journey home. It's a very long journey and we get sidetracked a good couple times. I have this very pretty like deluxe edition that I didn't even realise it was a deluxe edition, but it's beautiful. I didn't hate this one. I think I audiobooked this one as well because again I just kept kind of like losing concentration when I was reading it. This one's Greek, so I understood the gods and everything that was happening a little bit better. It was a lot easier to read than Ovid. I really enjoyed it for like the beginning, but I think it was the more we got into it, the more it kind of just started waffling on and on and on. It could be condensed. It doesn't need to be as long as it is. I really thought I was gonna like it. It was too long for me. So in terms for a school book, again, like a 7.5, because I did enjoy the story and it wasn't as bad as Ovid. And in terms of actual books, I'd give it like a 6.5. I don't want to commit to giving it a really good score. This one is kind of like the William Blake book. I didn't really read a lot of this one. Most of these books should give us passages that we had to read. Majority of them I just read the whole thing anyway, might as well. This one is one of the ones that I did kind of stick to the passages a little bit more. I read a little bit extra but not tons. It is the Bible, the King James version. We're kind of looking at this in terms of like Hebrew myth and like the older Hebrew stories, kind of like in that aspect, and it was interesting to see a few of the stories that I knew pretty well, like word for word how they actually happened, and some stories that I didn't know that well. The next one that I read was Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. My dog ate this a little bit. I didn't like this one that much. This is medieval literature. I don't like it. I didn't like the way it was written. It was so repetitive. The story was okay. For how short it is, it took me too long to read. So I think that's why I have so many qualms with it. In terms of a school book, I give it like a 6. In terms of like an actual book, I'd give it like a 4. The next book I read was the Penguin Book of Norse Myths. So this is kind of different from the other ones in the sense that it's not like actual stories. Someone from modern day has written down the old Norse myths. It's not actually like an actual text that's like founded these myths or anything. Norse is one of the myth systems that I don't know a lot about. I watched Thor. That's kind of it. So reading this was so enlightening. I had so much fun learning all about these gods and these myths, and a lot of it was kind of similar to the Thor movie actually. It was really funny as well. The Norse gods are so funny. I laughed so many times. It was really weird and kooky. I was just really different from all the other myth systems in so many ways. In terms of school books I read, again, I'd give it like an 8, 9 out of 10. Enjoyed it. I do think it was kind of dense and it would take me a while to read it. That is the downfall to it. In terms of like normal books I've read, I'd give it like a 7.5-ish because it was really dense. The next one we have, there's so many. I feel like I'm getting a little repetitive now. But it is The Complete Fairy Tales of the Brothers Grimm. I didn't read this whole like 1,200 page long book. No. All of these little tabs. Now there are quite a few little tabs, might I add. It's not just like I read 2 or 3. Like I did read a lot of them. Not all of them by any stretch, but enough for me to say that I read a decent amount of this book to have counted as a book that I have read. I enjoyed reading this one more than some of the other ones. Not necessarily because I enjoyed the stories more so because they were short and easy to get through and easy to read. I did enjoy some. I think it's more so the case of some stories I enjoyed, some stories I thought were kind of meh. In terms of school book, it's one of the easiest school books I've ever read, and it didn't take me that long despite how many there are, because they were so short and easy to read. I kind of flew through it pretty quickly. In terms of school books, I'd give it like a 7.5-ish. In terms of books that I've actually read, again, I'd give it like a 7-ish. It was fine. It was Okay. And the last book that I read from my myth module was the Mabinogi. Oh, I didn't like this one either. It's another Sir Gawain and the Green Knight situation. I think it was written in similar-ish times. This is kind of Celtic myth in that aspect. It was interesting, but it was written like Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, only worse, because I don't think this was, no, it wasn't lyrics, it was like prose, and the writing was a little repetitive. They would say the same thing slightly different ways, like 4 or 5 times within the same paragraph, and then sometimes they would just outright say the same thing 2 or 3 times within the paragraph, and I just couldn't. It starts off with like the 4 branches of the Mabinogi. Oh no, that's not right. The first branch of the Mabinogi. The first branch of the Mabinogi was my favourite. I remember reading that one. I just came back after watching Murder on the Orient Express, and I was kind of in a good mood to read it, and it was kind of interesting. The rest I hated. It was... Some of the stories I liked. I just really didn't like the way they were told. I think I gave up and I didn't actually read the very end of it. In terms of school books that I read, I'd give it like a 6. In terms of normal books I read, I'd give it like a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you don't include Blake and the Bible, which I don't because I read so little of them. But yeah, those were the books that I read for my first semester in university. I will do another video when I finish my second semester of all the books I read in that one. If you also are doing an English literature course, or if you've done one within your lifetime, be sure to let me know down below. What was that? Be sure to let me know down below the books that you had to read for it. And yeah, that is everything. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have an awesome morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name is Jade. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye. Oh, I regret this already. Okay, I got this. It's fine. Everything is fine. It's got like a great big Amazon sticker on the back. It feels weird holding this holy Bible with Amazon on the back of it. Yes, if you did notice, I did cut my hair. Again, it's like showing now that it's curled right now, so you can't really see. The first one was George Eliot's Silas Marner. Can you see it? Am I in focus? Okay, that's enough. Down to the ground!